Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one single comment that kicked off a huge national debate. And we're going to use a really powerful framework to help us understand what was really going on. Let's get right into it.
So it all started with this question, right? Posed on live TV by MP Sarah Pochin. Now for some, it was just, a simple slip-up. But for a whole lot of other people, it pointed to something way, way bigger.
Yeah, because this wasn't just some offhand remark. The analysis we're exploring today frames it as a genuine flashpoint, a moment that pulled back the curtain on a really deep-seated discomfort with the reality of a changing, multicultural Britain.
So how do you get past all the shouting and actually analyze what's happening? Well, we're going to use a specific tool for that, the 6 Stages framework. It offers a completely new lens to understand these complex reactions, a way to move beyond the outrage and into actual understanding.
This framework was created by educational psychologist Dr. Shungu Magadza. It's essentially a model that's designed to map out the entire spectrum of how we humans react to diversity. It assigns a stage from a -6 all the way up to a +6, giving us a shared language for these very difficult conversations.
And here it is. As you can see, the framework maps everything from violent exclusion at the very bottom all the way up to equity visionary at the very top. Its real power is that it gives us a precise vocabulary to pinpoint these different and often unspoken mindsets.
Okay, so let's put this framework to work. Let's take it and apply it directly to the comment that started this whole thing. Where on this spectrum does a phrase like "too many black faces" actually fall?
So where does the comment land? According to the analysis, right here, stage -4. This is what the framework calls defensive retrenchment. So what in the world does that actually mean? Let's break it down.
Well, this stage isn't about open aggression. It's much more subtle. It's characterized by a real desire to cling to older, more familiar cultural norms. It's about resisting change, but often cloaking it in calls for balance. And it stems from a perceived sense of cultural loss. Basically, it's wrapping up a deep discomfort in the language of objectivity.
And here's the crucial point. The analysis suggests this debate was never really about advertising statistics. Not at all. It was about something much deeper. It was about power, identity, and who gets to control the cultural narrative.
But not everyone responded from a place of retrenchment. And the framework is useful here too because it helps us understand the opposing viewpoint, which comes from a very different stage on the spectrum.
As a counterpoint, the source highlights commentator Lee Jasper's response. It's classified on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, stages +5, or strategic equity leadership. And this isn't just about disagreeing, it's about operating from a completely different worldview.
This slide illustrates the contrast perfectly. On one side, you have defensive retrenchment, which sees diversity as a cultural loss and wants to cling to the past. On the other, you have strategic equity leadership, which sees diversity as a strategic and economic necessity and champions representation as essential for the future.
And this is the core message from that stage +5 perspective. In our modern, multicultural world, representation isn't just about being nice. It's about commercial competence. It's about seeing diversity not as a box you have to tick, but as a genuine competitive advantage. It's just smart strategy.
So let's get to the real heart of the issue, shall we? If the debate isn't actually about the numbers, then what is truly at stake here? What's this really all about?
The surface-level argument often leans on census statistics, right? People claiming that the percentage of black people in ads is higher than their percentage in the population. But is that the right way to look at it?
The source argues that this statistical approach is deeply misleading. First off, it completely ignores the decades of historical underrepresentation and outright exclusion from media. And second, it makes a huge error. It confuses visibility on screen with actual power behind the camera, in the boardroom, in the director's chair.
So if it's not about proportion, the analysis suggests it's about something else entirely: permission. The real questions are, who gets to define what Britishness looks like, and who needs permission to even be part of that picture?
Ultimately, the source reframes the entire concept with this really powerful metaphor, that increased diversity in our media isn't some radical threat. It is simply a mirror, finally, starting to accurately reflect the multicultural society that Britain already is.
And this brings us to the final, really sharp conclusion from Dr. Magadza's analysis, that those who resist this reflection aren't actually defending tradition. They are defending a state of cultural decline.
Which leaves us with a provocative final thought.
pulled straight from the source material. As we see these debates play out, the question we might ask ourselves is this: whose discomfort are we really protecting when we push back against more inclusive storytelling?